The gunshot echoed through the underground parking lot before Minute who could even register the flash of the muzzle. He twisted sideways, the bullet grazing his shoulder as he rolled behind a concrete pillar. 3 men emerged from the shadows, their weapons gleaming under the fluorescent lights. "Wrong move, gentlemen," Minute who said, his voice cold as winter steel. The first man lunged. Minute who caught his wrist mid-swing, twisted it until bone cracked, and used the screaming man as a shield when the second one fired. The body jerked with impact before Minute who threw it aside and closed the distance in 2 strides. His elbow connected with the shooter's jaw, teeth scattered across the concrete. The third man raised his gun, but Minute who was faster. A kick sent the weapon flying, followed by a punch that dropped the man like a stone. Minute who straightened his Armani suit, barely breathing hard. He stepped over the groaning bodies and walked to his Maybach, where an older man waited by the driver's door. "Master Kim," Minute who said. "They're getting sloppy. Tell Choi Sang-woo that if he wants me dead, he should send professionals." The older man's weathered face creased with concern. "You're pushing him too hard. The drug lord doesn't appreciate being challenged." "Good." Minute whose eyes were empty of everything except cold purpose. "I want him angry. Angry men make mistakes." He slid into the backseat, and the car pulled away from the carnage as sirens wailed in the distance. Minute who stared at the Seoul skyline, the city lights reflecting in his dark eyes like stars drowning in oil. 5 years. 5 long years since that night. The memory crashed over him like a wave he couldn't resist. 5 years earlier, Lee Min Joon had been someone else entirely. He'd been 22, the eldest son of the Lee family, one of Seoul's most powerful business dynasties. That night, they'd been having dinner, his parents, his 2 little sisters Ji-woo and Sua, laughing over his father's terrible jokes. "Oppa," 10-year-old Ji-woo had said, rice stuck to her cheek. "Tell Appa his jokes aren't funny." "They're terrible," Min Joon agreed, grinning. "Dad, you should stick to business." His father had laughed, reaching for more Kim Kai. "You all have no appreciation for." The windows exploded inward. Glass rained down like deadly snow. His mother's scream cut off abruptly as bullets tore through her chest. His father lunged to shield the girls, but the assault rifles were merciless. Min Joon watched his father's body jerk and fall, blood spreading across the white tablecloth like spilled wine. "JIWOO. SO8. Run." Min Joon grabbed his sisters, their small hands slick with their parents' blood. He crashed through the back door, glass shredding his arms as he shielded them with his body. The Mercedes was in the garage. He shoved them inside. "Drive to Aunt's house. Don't stop for anything." He slammed the door and ran to his sports car. His security detail was already in another vehicle. They peeled out together, tires screaming. The chase was chaos. Gunfire shattered the night. Min Joon swerved through traffic, his heart hammering against his ribs. In the rearview mirror, he saw the security car explode, an RPG turning it into a fireball that lit up the highway. No, 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 he looked ahead for his sister's car. It was swerving, the driver hit. Another vehicle rammed it from the side. Min Joon watched in horror as the Mercedes crashed through the bridge railing and plunged into the river below. The splash seemed to echo in his soul. "JIWOO. SO8. His scream tore his throat raw. But he couldn't stop. More cars were chasing him. He drove through his tears until he reached the Karnlab River, a dead end at a waterfall's edge. He slammed the brakes and stumbled out, gun in hand. 15 men surrounded him, red laser sights painting his chest like target practice. A man emerged from the lead car, Choi Sang-woo, the drug lord who'd been trying to muscle into the Lee family's territory. "Lee Min Joon," Choi said, lighting a cigarette. "Your family should have accepted my offer. Go to hell." Min Joon raised his gun. "Brave but stupid." Choi nodded to his men. "Kill him slowly." The first bullet shattered Min Joon's right leg. He screamed and fell to one knee but forced himself back up. The second bullet destroyed his left leg. He collapsed but crawled forward, reaching for his gun. 2 more bullets ripped through his shoulders. He couldn't move his arms anymore. "Stay down," Choi advised. "Never," Min Joon gasped through bloody teeth. 3 bullets slammed into his abdomen. The pain was everywhere and nowhere, like he was burning and freezing at the same time. A final bullet hit his chest, and he toppled backward over the cliff edge. The waterfall swallowed him. Cold water filled his lungs as he tumbled through the rapids. 8 bullets in his body. His family dead. The world faded to black, and Min Joon welcomed it. But fate had other plans. Master Kim had been fishing when the body floated past. The old man had seen many things in his 70 years, but a corpse that still had a pulse was unusual. He dragged the young man from the water and hauled him to his small shack by the river. 8 bullets. Master Kim removed them one by one, his hands steady despite their age. He'd learned field surgery in another life, a life he'd left behind. The boy should have died a dozen times over, but somehow his heart kept beating. 3 weeks passed before Min Joon opened his eyes. Master Kim was making tea when he heard the strangled gasp. "Easy, son," the old man said, moving to the cot. "You've been out for a while." Min Joon's eyes were wild, searching. "My sisters, where are my? I only found you. I'm sorry." The sound that came from Min Joon wasn't quite human. It was grief and rage and despair braided together into something that made Master Kim's old heart ache. "They're dead," Min Joon whispered. "Everyone's dead. And I'm alive. For a reason, perhaps." What reason could possibly? Min Joon tried to sit up and failed, his body still broken. "Rest now. We'll talk when you're stronger." Over the following months, Master Kim nursed him back to health. When Min Joon could walk, he taught him to fight. When he could fight, he taught him to kill. "Your body was destroyed," Master Kim said one morning as they trained. "So we build a new one. Faster. Stronger. Harder." The training was brutal. Min Joon welcomed the pain, it was better than the emptiness. He practiced knife work until his hands bled. He studied pressure points until he could kill with a touch. Master Kim taught him things no monastery would teach, things the old man had learned in the criminal underworld he'd escaped decades ago. "Why are you helping me?" Min Joon asked one evening, nursing bruised ribs. Master Kim was quiet for a long moment. "Because I see myself in you. And I hope you'll make better choices than I did. I'm going to kill them all. I know. That's why I'm teaching you how." 2 years of training. Then another 2 of planning, plastic surgery to alter his features, building a new identity. The Lee Min Joon who died in that river was gone. In his place stood Min who, cold, calculated, and hungry for revenge. Min who used the hidden Lee family assets to build his empire. Within 3 years, Min who Enterprise was one of Seoul's fastest growing corporations. On the surface, legitimate. Underneath, a network of influence that rivaled even Choi Sang-woo's. And then he met her. Kira Choi was beautiful in the way poisonous flowers are beautiful. The drug lord's daughter had been raised in luxury, educated in Switzerland, groomed to marry into power. Min who approached her at an art gallery, their meeting carefully orchestrated to seem accidental. "You're Min who," she said, studying him over her champagne glass. "I've heard about you. Nothing too scandalous, I hope." "Everything scandalous." She smiled. "I like that in a man." Their courtship was a chess game. He brought her flowers and lies, took her to expensive restaurants and fed her carefully crafted truths. She laughed at his jokes and introduced him to her father's world. Each date was a step closer to Choi Sang-woo's inner circle. "My father wants to meet you," Kira said after 3 months. "I'd be honored." Sitting across from the man who murdered his family without revealing his hatred, that was the hardest thing Min who had ever done. Choi Sang-woo was older now, grayer, but his eyes were still predator-sharp. "Min who," Choi said, pouring whiskey. "You've built quite an empire. Impressive for someone so young. I had good teachers. Where did you grow up?" "Busan. Small family. They passed away." The lies came easily now. Choi studied him like he was deciding whether to invest or eliminate. Finally, he nodded. "My daughter seems fond of you. Don't make me regret allowing this." "Never, sir." The months passed. Minute, who played the perfect boyfriend while secretly mapping Choi's operations, identifying weaknesses, planning his revenge. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Until the day he walked into a cafe in downtown Seoul and his carefully constructed world tilted on its axis. The cafe was small, tucked between a pharmacy and a bookstore, the kind of place most people walked past without noticing. Minute, who had chosen it precisely because it was unremarkable, a good place to review documents without being disturbed. He sat in the corner booth, expensive suit drawing curious glances from the few customers. The coffee was terrible, but he didn't care. He was reading through shipping manifests that would prove Choi's drug operations when 3 men approached his table. "Hey, pretty boy," the largest one said, tattoos crawling up his neck. "You're in our spot." Minute, who didn't look up. "I don't see your name on it." "Don't get smart. Move." "No." The man reached for Minute, whose shoulder. "Big mistake." Minute, who caught the hand, twisted, and the crack of breaking bone echoed through the cafe. The man screamed. His friend lunged, and Minute, who stood smoothly, drove his elbow into the attacker's nose. Blood exploded. The third man pulled a knife. "Really?" Minute, who sidestepped the clumsy slash and kicked the man's knee sideways. He went down hard. "Yeah. Not in my cafe." Minute, who turned toward the voice and froze. She emerged from the kitchen like a storm given human form. Tall, dark-skinned, beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with makeup or fashion. She wielded a baseball bat like she knew how to use it, and her eyes blazed with righteous fury. "Out. All of you. Out now." The 3 thugs scrambled to their feet and fled, leaving trails of blood. She turned those fierce eyes on Minute, who. "You too. I don't care how expensive your suit is. I don't want trouble here." For the first time in 5 years, Minute, who was speechless. There was something about her, the set of her shoulders, the fearlessness in her stance, that reminded him painfully of his mother. His mother had been small but mighty, the kind of woman who would chase burglars from her house with a frying pan. "Just go." He left but found himself returning the next day. He ordered coffee, sat in the same spot. She ignored him. The pattern repeated for a week. Finally, she confronted him. "Why do you keep coming back? The coffee isn't even that good." "Maybe I'm not here for the coffee." She crossed her arms. "Then what are you here for?" "Good question." Minute, who didn't have an answer that made sense. "What's your name?" "Onkoi Precious." "And I know who you are." Minute, who, the CEO everyone talks about. She studied him. "What does a man like you want in a place like this?" "Peace." The word surprised him with its honesty. Precious's expression softened slightly. "Well, you won't find it if you keep breaking people's bones in here. They started it. You finished it." But there was the hint of a smile now. "Next time, take it outside." "Next time?" "You seem determined to keep coming back." Over the following weeks, they fell into a rhythm. He'd arrive, she'd bring him terrible coffee, they'd talk. Precious told him about growing up in Nigeria, how she'd come to Seoul to study nursing but ended up running a cafe when her visa issues got complicated. "My mother says I'm stubborn," Precious said one evening as she wiped down tables. "Says I should have come home years ago." "Why didn't you?" "Because I don't give up. Once I start something, I finish it." She looked at him. "What about your family?" The question stabbed like a knife between his ribs. "They're gone." "I'm sorry. It was a long time ago." "Doesn't mean it stops hurting." She sat across from him, her hand covering his before she seemed to realize what she was doing and pulled back. Pain doesn't just disappear because time passes. Minute, who stared at where her hand had been. No one touched him casually anymore. Everyone in his world either feared him or wanted something from him. But Precious looked at him like he was just a man. "Would you have dinner with me?" The words escaped before he could stop them. She raised an eyebrow. "Like a date?" "If you want it to be. I don't date rich men. They're usually trouble." "I'm definitely trouble." Precious laughed, and the sound did something strange to Minute, whose chest. "At least you're honest." "Fine. One dinner. But somewhere cheap. I don't do fancy restaurants." They ate at a street food stall, sitting on plastic stools while Seoul's neon lights painted the night in electric colors. Precious ordered everything, tteokbokki, odeng, kimbap, and insisted he try each dish. "You eat like someone who's been starving," she observed. "I've been eating for survival, not pleasure," Minute admitted. "This is nice. Nice. This is heaven." She popped a rice cake into her mouth. "My used to say that food tastes better when you share it with someone you care about. Do you care about me?" Precious went still, then smiled. "I'm still deciding." They talked for hours. Precious told him about her family, her mother's shop in Port Harcourt, her younger siblings, her dream of opening a real restaurant someday. Minute, who found himself sharing carefully edited versions of his past, surprised by how much truth he could mix with the lies. "You seem lonely," Precious said as they walked along the Han River. "Like you're carrying something heavy." "Everyone carries something." "True. But some people carry it alone when they don't have to." She stopped walking and turned to face him. "I see pain in your eyes, Minute. Whatever happened to you, whatever you lost, you don't have to carry it alone." He wanted to tell her everything. Wanted to explain about his family, the bullets, the river, the burning need for revenge that consumed him like slow fire. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, he kissed her. Precious stiffened in surprise, then melted against him. The kiss was soft, tentative, nothing like the cold calculation that governed the rest of his life. When they pulled apart, she was breathless. "That was," she started. "A mistake." "No. Unexpected." She touched his face. "You're full of surprises, aren't you?" The weeks that followed were the closest thing to happiness Minute had known in 5 years. He'd spend mornings building his empire and planning Choi's downfall, then escape to Precious's world in the evenings. With her, he wasn't Minute the CEO or Lee Min Joon the ghost. He was just a man learning to feel again. She cooked for him jollof rice that made his taste buds sing, agusi soup that reminded him comfort existed. He'd watch her move around her tiny apartment, singing in Igbo while she worked, and feel something like peace settle in his bones. "Stay tonight," she said one evening after dinner. Minute knew he should leave. Should maintain distance. Should remember that he was a weapon pointed at Choi Sang-woo, and weapons didn't get to have normal lives. But he stayed. Making love to Precious was nothing like the mechanical encounters he'd had with Kira. It was tender and fierce, vulnerable and strong. Afterward, she lay with her head on his chest, tracing patterns on his skin. "These scars," she murmured, touching the marks where bullets had entered. "What happened to you?" "An accident. Long time ago." "You're a terrible liar." But she didn't push. "Whatever you're hiding, whatever you're running from or running toward, I'm here. When you're ready to tell me." Minute held her tighter, breathing in her scent, wishing he could freeze this moment forever. Because he knew it couldn't last. Revenge and happiness couldn't coexist in the same heart. The collision came on a Tuesday evening. Minute, who had been avoiding Kira's calls, making excuses about business meetings. But he couldn't avoid her forever. She was part of the plan, his way into Choi's inner circle, the key to his revenge. He just needed more time before he had to face that reality. Precious was at his penthouse, wearing one of his shirts and cooking breakfast even though it was 7 p.m. She'd started keeping clothes there, leaving pieces of herself around his space, a toothbrush by the sink, her favorite mug in the cabinet. Signs of a life being built. The door opened. Minute, whose blood turned to ice. He'd given Kira a key months ago, back when she was just a tool, before Precious had made him remember what it felt like to be human. Minute, "We need to talk about the wedding." Kira stopped in the doorway, designer purse slipping from her fingers. Her eyes went from Minute to Precious and back again. Precious turned from the stove, spatula in hand. She looked at Kira, then at Minute, and he watched realization dawn in her eyes like a sunrise he didn't want to see. "Who is this?" Kira's voice was cold as winter. "I could ask you the same thing," Precious said quietly. "Girlfriend." The word hung in the air like a blade. Minute, whose carefully constructed world shattered like glass. He stood frozen between the two women, the architect of his own destruction. "Minute, Kira said, her voice sharp enough to cut. "Explain. Now." Precious set down the spatula with shaking hands. Was I just entertainment? Something to pass the time while you planned your wedding? No, Precious, it's not. Then what is it? Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. Because right now, it looks like I'm the other woman. You're not, Minute, who said desperately. Kira is. Your fiancé. Precious's laugh was broken. Your business partner? What convenient excuse are you going to use? Let her go, Lee Min Joon, Kira said quietly. The name hit like a physical blow. Precious stared at him. What did she call you? Minute, whose heart stopped. He looked at Kira, saw the knowing smile on her face, and understood. She'd always known. You're not Minute who, Kira continued, watching him. You're Lee Min Joon, son of the Lee family that was murdered 5 years ago. The ghost everyone thinks died in the Karnlab River. She turned to Precious. Did he tell you that? Did he tell you he's been using me to get revenge on my father? Precious stepped back like she'd been slapped. Revenge? What is she talking about? I can explain. Then explain. Precious's voice cracked. Explain why you have 2 names. Explain why she knows things I don't. Explain why everything feels like a lie. Minute, who wanted to find the words that would make this right, but they didn't exist. My real name is Lee Min Joon. 5 years ago, a drug lord named Choi Sang-woo murdered my family. My parents. My 2 little sisters. He put 8 bullets in me and left me for dead. The words tumbled out like a confession. I survived. Barely. A man pulled me from the river and nursed me back to health. I changed my name, my face, my life. Everything I've done since then has been about getting close enough to Choi to destroy him. And me? Kira asked. What was I? A means to an end. I made you fall in love with me to get access to your father's world. Kira's laugh was bitter. Fall in love? Oh, Min Joon. I've known who you were since the day we met. The revelation hit like a second bullet. What? I saw the news 5 years ago. Watched the reports about the Lee family massacre. I looked at your face every day for 3 months, memorizing it. Plastic surgery can change a lot, but it can't change eyes. The eyes of a man who's lost everything, those stay the same. Minute, who felt the ground shifting beneath him. Then why? Because I want him dead too. Kira's voice turned razor sharp. My father is a monster. He's controlled my life since birth, decided who I can love, where I can go, what I can be. When I recognized you, I saw an opportunity. Someone strong enough, angry enough to help me escape. You used me, Minute, who said slowly. We used each other. Don't pretend you're the victim here. Kira picked up her purse. The difference is, I was honest about what this was. You. She glanced at Precious. You let yourself get distracted. Precious had been silent through this exchange, her face unreadable. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady despite the tears on her cheeks. Get out. Precious. Both of you. Get out of his house, and Minute, who, or whatever your name is, don't come back to my cafe. Please, just listen. I said get out. Her shout echoed off the glass walls. I don't know who you are. I thought I did, but I was wrong. You're a stranger wearing the face of someone I loved. Loved. Past tense. The word carved through him. Kira left with a final warning. Make your choice, Min Joon. Revenge or the girl. You can't have both. When she was gone, Minute, who tried again. Let me explain properly. Everything I told you about my family, that was true. The pain, the loss, all of it was real. And the revenge? The using people? The lies? Precious wrapped her arms around herself. Was that real too? Yes. But what we have, what I feel for you, that's real too. How can I believe anything you say? She looked at him like he was a stranger. You've been lying since the day we met. Playing a role. Was any of it real, or was I just another tool in your revenge plan? You were never part of the plan. Minute, who crossed the space between them. Meeting you was an accident. Falling for you was, I didn't mean for it to happen. But it did, and it's the only real thing in my life. Precious searched his face. Revenge won't bring them back. Your family, they're gone. Destroying this Choi person won't change that. It's all I have. No. She touched his face, gentle despite everything. You have me. Or you could have, if you choose it. But I won't love a man who's more committed to his hate than to building something new. I don't know how to let it go. Then learn. She stepped back. I'm going home. When you figure out who you want to be, the ghost haunting the past or a man with a future, you know where to find me. Until then, leave me alone. She gathered her things and left. Minute, who stood in his empty penthouse, surrounded by luxury that felt like a prison, and for the first time since the river, he wondered if revenge was worth the cost. He went to see Master Kim. The old man's shack by the river was exactly as Minute who remembered, simple, clean, peaceful. Master Kim was brewing tea when he arrived. She left you, Master Kim said without preamble. How did you? I can see it on your face. The girl with fire in her eyes. He poured 2 cups. Sit. Tell me. Minute, who sat and told him everything, Kira's revelation, Precious's ultimatum, the impossible choice tearing him apart. Master Kim listened in silence. What should I do? Minute, who asked when he finished. That's not a question I can answer. Master Kim stared into his tea. But I can tell you a story. 25 years ago, I was an angry young man with a gift for violence. I worked for the Choi cartel, yes, the same one. I was their best enforcer. I killed because I was good at it, and because the money was good. Minute, who went still. You worked for Choi. I was more than that. I was his teacher. His mentor. Master Kim's hands trembled slightly. I taught him everything he knows about cruelty. Every person he's hurt, every life he's destroyed, I laid the foundation for that. My legacy is blood. The world tilted again. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have let me save you if you'd known? Would you have trusted me? Master Kim finally looked up. I pulled you from that river because I recognized something in you, the same rage that consumed me. I thought if I taught you to channel it, trained you to be precise instead of reckless, you might succeed where I failed. Failed at what? Getting out. Master Kim's voice cracked. I had a family once. A wife. 2 children. They were killed in a gang war, collateral damage in a conflict I started. I tried to leave the life, but Choi wouldn't let me. Said I knew too much. So I faked my death and ran. He gestured to the simple shack. I've been here for 20 years, living in poverty, trying to atone for my sins. But you can't atone for the dead. You can only try not to create more of them. Minute, who felt betrayed, angry, lost. You shaped me into a weapon against a man you created. What kind of redemption is that? The selfish kind. Master Kim's honesty was brutal. I saved you hoping you'd kill him. Hoping someone would finish what I was too weak to do. I trained you to be the monster I once was, and I'm not proud of it. Then why tell me now? Because that girl, Precious, she's trying to save you the way my wife tried to save me. And I didn't listen. I chose revenge over love, violence over peace. My family died because of that choice. Master Kim reached across the table, gripping Minute, whose hand. Don't make my mistakes. Choi Sang-woo isn't worth your soul. Minute, who left Master Kim's shack with more questions than answers. He drove through Seoul aimlessly, the city lights blurring through his windshield. He'd spent 5 years building toward revenge, and now the foundation was cracking beneath him. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. Lee Min Joon. The voice was smooth, familiar, evil. Choi Sang-woo. Yes, I know you're alive. I've known for quite some time. Minute, whose blood ran cold. How long? Since you started dating my daughter. Did you think I wouldn't investigate the man courting Kira? Your plastic surgery was good, but not perfect. A few old associates recognized your eyes. Then why let me get this close? Choi laughed. Because it's more fun this way. Watching you play your little games, thinking you're clever. You're exactly like your father, prideful, naive, easy to break. The amusement dropped from his voice. Come to Warehouse District 7. Alone. Or the Nigerian girl dies. The line went dead. Terror unlike anything he'd felt since the river flooded through Minute Who. He called Precious. No answer. He called the cafe. A stranger answered, said the owner had been picked up by some men an hour ago. Minute Who drove like the world was ending, because his world was. He'd brought this on her. His revenge, his obsession, his inability to let go, and now Precious would pay the price. The warehouse was in Seoul's industrial district, a graveyard of rusted metal and broken dreams. Minute Who parked and walked in unarmed, as instructed. Choi's men were waiting, at least 20 of them, all heavily armed. Precious was in the center of the space, tied to a chair. Her lip was split, and there was a bruise forming on her cheek. But her eyes were defiant. Let her go, Minute Who said. This is between us. No, Choi emerged from the shadows, a gun in his hand. This is about teaching you a lesson. You took my daughter's affection, false though it was. You've been attacking my operations. You've cost me money, reputation, power. Now I take something from you. He aimed the gun at Precious. Wait. Minute Who stepped forward. I'll do anything. Just let her go. Anything. Then kneel. Minute Who dropped to his knees, his pride ashes in his mouth. Please. Pathetic. Just like your father, begging at the end. Choi lowered the gun. But I'm not going to kill her. Not yet. First, I want to show you something. He gestured, and 2 women were brought into the warehouse. Minute Whose heart stopped. Jiwoo and Suah. His sisters. Alive. They were grown now. Jiwoo would be 15, Suah 13. They wore expensive clothes and carried themselves with the confidence of girls raised in privilege. But they looked at him with blank eyes. Jiwoo, Minute Who whispered. Suah. It's me. Your brother. The older girl frowned. Father, who is this man? Father. The word was a knife through his chest. This, Choi said, is the ghost of your past. Your real family died in a tragic accident when you were children. I saved you, raised you, gave you everything. That's a lie, Minute Who said desperately. He killed our parents. He tried to kill us. Don't you remember? Our mother's lullaby. Dad's terrible jokes. The house with the garden. Suah looked uncertain, a flicker of something in her eyes. But Jiwoo remained cold. We don't know you, Jiwoo said. You're making up stories. I'm your brother. I watched your car go into the river. I thought you were dead. Minute Who was crying now, not caring who saw. I've spent 5 years trying to avenge you. Touching, Choi said. But pointless. They're my daughters now. And you're going to watch them grow up knowing you're the enemy. The warehouse doors burst open. Kira walked in, followed by Master Kim and, impossibly, Jung Tae, Minute Who's most trusted lieutenant. But Jung Tae's gun was pointed at Master Kim. Ah, the whole family, Choi said. Jung Tae, good work. Jung Tae. Minute Who stared at his friend, his brother in arms. Sorry, boss, Jung Tae said, not sounding sorry at all. I'm Choi Sang-woo's son. You didn't think Kira was his only child, did you? I've been inside your organization from the beginning. Betrayal piled on betrayal. Minute Who had nothing left, his revenge exposed, his love endangered, his sister stolen, his friend a lie. He was that boy in the river again, drowning with 8 bullets in him. Now, Choi said. We end this. Jung Tae, kill the old man. Kira, time to choose your real family or this pretender. Kira was staring at Precious, at Minute Who, at her father. Her face was unreadable. Well? Choi demanded. Kira pulled out a gun. She aimed it at her father. I choose myself, she said, and fired. The shot echoed through the warehouse. Choi Sang-woo fell, blood spreading across his chest. Chaos erupted. Jung Tae swung his gun toward Kira, but Master Kim moved with the speed of his younger years, disarming him with a precise strike. Minute Who didn't hesitate. He lunged for Precious, cutting her bonds with a knife taken from the nearest guard. More guards rushed in, but Kira was shooting with cold precision, taking them down one by one. Get her out of here, Kira shouted to Minute Who. But Precious had grabbed a fallen gun. She moved like Minute Who had taught her, using the self-defense lessons he'd given her during their time together. She shot a guard who was aiming at Minute Who's back, her hands steady. "I told you," she said, meeting his eyes. "I don't give up." The fight was brutal and short. Master Kim fought like the legend he once was, taking down multiple men despite his age. Jung Tae fled when he realized the tide had turned. When the last guard fell, only the core group remained standing. Choi Sang-woo was still alive, barely. Blood bubbled from his chest as he laughed. "You think this changes anything? My empire will survive. Someone else will take over." "Let them," Kira said coldly. "I'm taking over the legitimate businesses. Cleaning them. The criminal side can rot." She looked at her father with no emotion. "You controlled my life for 24 years. No more. Kill me then," Choi gasped. "Finish it." Kira lowered her gun. "No. I won't give you the mercy of a quick death. Let the law handle you." She looked at Minute Who. "It's over. He's finished. You can choose revenge, pick up that gun and kill him yourself. Or you can choose her." Minute Who looked at Choi Sang-woo, the man who'd murdered his parents, stolen his sisters, destroyed his life. The rage that had sustained him for 5 years burned in his chest. It would be so easy to pull the trigger. Then he looked at Precious. She was bleeding from a cut on her arm, her clothes were torn, and she'd just killed a man to save his life. But she was looking at him with hope in her eyes. "Minute June," she said softly. "Come back to me." He dropped the gun. "It's over," he said, his voice breaking. "I'm done." Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called the police. Kira had already disappeared. Master Kim touched Minute Who's shoulder. "Go," the old man said. "I'll handle the authorities. I have crimes to atone for anyway. This is my chance." "Master Kim, you saved yourself, boy. I just gave you the tools. Now use them to build instead of destroy." He smiled. "Take care of your woman. And your sisters, give them time. Memory is a strange thing. It might return when they're ready." Minute Who turned to his sisters. They were huddled together, confused and frightened. Suar was humming something under her breath. The lullaby. Their mother's lullaby. "I don't expect you to remember me now," Minute Who said to them. "But I'm your brother. Lee Min Joon. And when you're ready to know about your real parents, about the family you came from, I'll be here. No pressure. No demands. Just, here." Suara's eyes were wet. "I remember, gardens. And someone singing." "Mom," Minute Who whispered. "She sang to you every night." The police were getting closer. Precious took his hand. "We need to go." They ran together into Seoul's night, leaving the warehouse and the bodies and the past behind. Minute Who didn't know what came next. There would be police investigations, legal battles, rebuilding his life without the armor of revenge. But Precious was beside him, and that felt like enough. 6 months later, the cafe was renovated and thriving. Precious had expanded, hired staff, started offering Nigerian dishes alongside Korean favorites. It had become a neighborhood favorite, the kind of place where everyone felt welcome. Minute Who sat at his usual table, though the coffee had improved significantly. He'd stepped down from Minute Who Enterprise, given controlling shares to his board, kept enough to live comfortably but not lavishly. He was learning to be Lee Min Joon again, not the boy who died in the river, but someone new. His sisters visited sometimes. Suar came more often, memories returning in fragments. Ji-woo was slower to trust, but she'd started asking questions about their parents. It was progress. Kira had cleaned up the Choi Empire, turned it legitimate, and became one of Seoul's youngest female CEOs. She'd sent him a message once, "Thank you for being the weapon I needed. Sorry you got hurt. We're even now." Master Kim had surrendered to the police, confessing to decades-old crimes. But he'd negotiated immunity in exchange for testimony against other criminal organizations. He was serving as a consultant now, helping to dismantle the underworld he'd once helped build. Jung Tae had disappeared. Some said he'd fled to China. Minute Who didn't care enough to look. Precious brought him a fresh cup of coffee, and her hand rested on her stomach, barely showing yet, but there. They'd found out 2 weeks ago. Still terrible, she asked, their usual joke. Perfect, Minute who said, meaning the coffee, the moment, the life. She sat beside him, and he put his hand over hers on her belly. Are you scared? Terrified, he admitted. I don't know how to be a father. My own father died when I was barely an adult. Then we learned together. She leaned against him. You spent 5 years drowning in the past. Now you get to build a future. What if I'm not good at it? You survived 8 bullets, rebuilt yourself from nothing, and chose forgiveness over revenge. I think you can handle dirty diapers and sleepless nights. He laughed, the sound still feeling new and strange. I love you. I know. And I love you, all of you. The ghost and the man, the pain and the hope. She kissed him. You chose to swim instead of drown. That's all that matters. Through the cafe window, Seoul hummed with life. Somewhere in the city, Choi Sang-woo sat in a prison cell, his empire dismantled. Somewhere, Master Kim was working to undo the damage he'd caused. Somewhere, Minute whose sisters were growing up with the chance to choose their own future. And here, in a small cafe that served terrible coffee and amazing jollof rice, Lee Min Joon, once drowned, once lost, once consumed by revenge, learned what it meant to truly live. The river had tried to take everything from him. But he'd survived. Not because he was strong, but because he'd learned when to let go. Fate had written his story in blood. But he'd chosen to rewrite it in love. And that made all the difference. If you enjoyed this story of revenge, redemption, and love that crosses cultures, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more captivating stories, and drop a comment below telling us what you thought about Min Joon and Precious's journey. Would you have chosen revenge or redemption? Let us know. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next story. Until next time, remember, we all have rivers to cross. The question is whether we drown or learn to swim.